Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to be with our good friend, our City Current partner, Austin Baker. He is the president of HRO Partners, and he's also a founding partner with National Enrollment Partners. We're going to talk all about that, but Austin, let's start. How are you doing, buddy?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me on the show today, Jeremy. It's always a pleasure to see you virtually right now, no doubt. But more than anything else, proud to be a part of cityCURRENT. Y'all have an outstanding legacy. And I've been a part for a long time. I was thinking back to the early days, and so happy to join you on your show today. So glad you're doing well and healthy, and great to see you.
Yeah, we've been on a long journey together, absolutely, and so many amazing memories. But we'll on this one, we'll kind of look at 2020. We'll talk a lot about the trends for 2021, but let's start with some context. Go ahead and describe HRO Partners, and then we'll talk about National Enrollment Partners. But talk about HRO Partners.
Well, sure. HRO Partners has been in existence for better than 11 years plus now. We grew out of another company that I'd had a chance to exit. And as we were responding to the marketplace and built really with employers in mind, we developed a series of HR consulting programs as well as technology consulting to help employers navigate the myriad of issues they were having from an HR standpoint. I think that we can all agree that HR is getting more complex, not less, and that organizations are more challenged than ever in terms of their human capital strategy. The amount of change that's being pushed in organizations is substantial, but at our core, what we're passionate about is helping employ better people strategies for companies that want to grow. And the way we do that is through managed services called HRO Now, and through our enrollment services called HRO Enroll. But nationally, we have a great partnership and a founding member of National Enrollment Partners, which is a part of our enrollment services division. And so that gives us more horsepower and has grown us across the country. And the partners of NEP in all of these cities, major cities across the country, are outstanding in their profession. And we join together to bring more value to our clients, to bring more resources to conduct their benefits enrollment, open enrollment, new hires, and manage all the technology that goes into that. And so healthcare is a big spend. We help employers get a better return on their dollar by communicating and enrolling benefits with their employees.
Talk about the subscription side. You mentioned it, but dive in deeper, because with that, you're making it affordable, you're making it easy, but you're also, you're bringing your expertise to bear to make it streamlined and efficient. So talk about the way it works.
Yes, so this was a great innovation that we rolled out last year. It's a managed subscription program called HRO Now. There's multiple tiers. There's a light version for micro businesses that are sub 10 in terms of employees. So I say micro only an employee count. And then mid-sized organizations, can subscribe to a higher tier, and then larger organizations with more needs have a higher subscription. But the way we developed that was really responding to our customers. At the end of the day, they want HR to be simpler, more accessible, more affordable, but they also want things at their fingertips. And so we developed an online dashboard that they can use to manage all things HR. They can choose a state that's applicable to their issue. They can search by category. They can search laws. They can search every document we've ever created, and it's backed by our team of more than 50 HR professionals. So they can look at a document and say, hey, I like this job description. I'm attaching it to a ticket that we manage for them. And then what we do, but I'd like this change. I really have this issue, or what's going on here. And that gets deployed out. And then we can come back and give them, some edits to documents like that. And then it houses all that, and it houses all their history. And so people in their organization can access us fractionally for less than a full-time, less than a part-time employee, and they get a team of all of our top people. And they can at their fingertips, they can get what they need for the most part. But anything that they want looked at gets looked at, turned around fast. But they also can see the trends. We're going to talk about trends, and they can see what other people are asking. And by seeing and understanding what other questions other companies are asking, it's going to help them get ahead of an issue that could be coming their way. That's going to make them aware of something that they may not have known. and it's going to help them understand how to navigate the other things that are going to come from that. And so the database and the systems are intuitive. And so when you go to search for one thing, perhaps employee onboarding checklist, it'll say, oh, do you also need this, 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 and this that comes with that? And it'll offer it up, compliant by state, and ready for them right away. And so we're able to make HR more accessible. The companies that came on this, the reviews are outstanding, Jeremy. We're so excited about the service.
I like the fact that it's intuitive too. I mean, to your point where you only know so much. And so the fact that it kind of is already leading you in the right direction, it's like, oh, wait, I need that and that and that. Talk about some of the major, as we look back to 2020 and we look ahead for 2021, what are some of the major things that you saw as challenges, but also opportunities? And I'm thinking working remotely is a big one. Share a little bit of your world when it comes to some of the big things for 2020 as we look back. Let's start there.
2020, we did a webinar on this, and if someone would want to link to the recording to go deeper on what we'll talk about today, I would love to send it to them, and we'll give you information on that. But on a recapping, I'll talk about a few things that stood out to me. Seismic shifts in the way we work. I don't think that kind of goes without saying, no doubt, but that has changed the nature of the employer-employee relationship. We used to talk about work-life balance, and we used to talk about leaving work at work and making home, happen. But we've all invited the workplace to our homes, and so by doing that and by the nature of that, the way we manage ourselves, the way we manage and expect to work with employers, the way that employers look at their employees, and the nature of where and geography when it comes to work is changing, and it's exciting, and it's a little bit scary. And so one of our maxims is, change is good, you go first. That's how most people feel about change. And so, when companies were asked, I saw a meme, who drove digital transformation in your company, the CEO, the CIO, or COVID-19? I think we know what the answer to that was. Not that they weren't doing their job, but people can only take so much change. But having to swallow a pill like we had to swallow collectively as a community, who would have thought that something that it's a micron in size would shut the entire world down in a way, and what we would do to adapt. And so I think that the exciting part is, and we've got a customer, an outstanding and a huge customer that spun off from a major corporation that we help manage some of the HR functions on that spin. And as we were doing that work, we got to know their CEO, was a former CEO of Lyft, and very progressive organization. Already from the technology front, launching major things in the marketplace. They announced that HR and benefits would be virtual from here to Kingdom Come. From now on, they don't expect that to ever change. A pretty big announcement, to make that kind of decision. Well, what we found with that is that the nature of talent is now democratized in a new way. And I think that's the exciting part about it, to be able to connect and virtually work with a great talented individual who is living in their best life and their best place, the way that they want to live, taking care of their family needs and being able to be productive. That's a big trend. And that flows into another big one, which is the acceleration of the gig economy. With the leadership programs that you've participated and supported us in for so many years with Mile, that we have a great partnership with cityCURRENT on, that we're very proud of. We did a whole session on entrepreneurship with the lens of the gig economy. I want you to be prepared to manage yourself as you graduate college. And we want to talk about what that looks like, because more likely than not if, but when you're going to be a fractional worker, this is what it might look like, right?
Yeah. And I think every one of those was true in 2020 and will hold up, like you said, moving forward for 2021 and beyond. And I do like, to your point, that now it has been democratized to where you can work anywhere in the world, and you've got access now to talent, but you also have access to those opportunities. Share maybe one or two big ones for 2021, that kind of add on to that. What's maybe one more that you would add for 2021 looking forward?
Oh, I could add several, but I don't think that we could, be doing this recording on the eve of Martin Luther King's remembrance yesterday without talking about diversity with a capital D. I think that employers now more than ever, not that they shouldn't have been before, are looking in the mirror when it comes to diversity in a new way. And I think that we have to ask ourselves better questions as a society to understand how to continue to break down the barriers that have existed, to continue to be inclusive in a new way. But also, I think that there are other dimensions of that we shouldn't exclude, especially with the nature of our work today. One of those that is near and dear to my heart is neurodiversity, finding a way to include individuals who would be considered in a special needs category, and finding a way to find a way. I think that companies that find a way to incorporate individuals that have their own special superpowers, in my opinion, in the workplace that are different, make them a better person and a better place to be. And I think that proximity for us coming together to work together in that way, that is what breaks down those barriers over time. And if we continue to walk in rooms that all look the same, we should ask ourselves the question, why does this room all look the same? And that's what employees want to see. That's what employees, especially newer generation employees, expect. They expect their companies also, it's a cityCURRENT brand, to be contributing to social change. More than 80%, when surveyed, expect their employer to be doing something to make a difference. So the why of work is changing, and the why of work is evolving, and I think that it's exciting. But it's also a tough conversation. And if you look around the room as an executive team and is not diverse, you need to look at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad you went in both of those directions, especially with diversity, but even with the purpose, because the why was where I was going to actually lead you next. Share a little of, you've been a pioneer in this space in terms of making it easy for companies to be engaged. And obviously, as you mentioned, the MILE program and a lot of the things that you're involved, it's near and dear to your heart as well. But talk about the power of purpose in terms of maybe a tip or a bit of advice that you would give for companies to activate on the why.
When you ask yourself what's important over and over again, the answer is less and less. And I think that as companies ask themselves what's important over and over again, I hope that the third or fourth why ends up being my people. And it should be, right? We're not autonomous, everything that we do. And if we are, I'm not sure we want to be that way, because part of being inclusive is finding a way for people to participate actively and seeking that out. And so part of what I think that organizations really can drive forward to do, and part of what we are passionate about, is if you're going to do that and you're going to take on these new opportunities, you're going to lead as opposed to being led, as opposed to trying to catch up. If that's what you want to do as an organization, as a leader, as a founder, then you're going to have to reorient your time. Time is our great equalizer, because all of us only have so much of it. And each of us especially have to choose what we decide to spend it on. And if we decide to spend it on mundane or routine or outsourceable tasks, then you can do that. That is a decision that is totally fine. I would argue, and I would challenge, organizations to reach out to someone like us and say, what would it look like if I got a few of these tasks that I've got to do that I don't really like to do that much anyway, maybe I got them off my plate so that I could focus on the new why of our organization. It's a fair question that every HR professional, every CEO should be asking themselves right now.
Yeah. And I think that also ties back to not just the why and the purpose and the community service, but also the diversity and the bigger issues that are faced, not just in our community, but globally, in terms of bringing these opportunities in and doing something about it and being proactive. So I think, to your point, freeing up that time to actually be intentional about how can we create real change is a big part of that.
Absolutely. I had a new hire, a very critical hire that I needed to make last year. And I challenged my team to continue to bring me candidates until the panel was as diverse as I needed it to be.
Nice.
I said, I know it's taking longer. I know we're in pain with this thing. I know it's costing me more to fractionally manage it in different ways, but you know what? That's my commitment. And you have to be able to put your money where your mouth is as a leader, and be able to do that. And so I think that, we're passionate about working with organizations that are willing to do that. They're willing to, that want to be asked the tough question. A lot of times in HR issues as leaders, because it is so complex, it's such a kitchen sink department. Everything is kind of touches it, right? And so if you're going to do that, you need to ask better questions. And so it's our job to help you ask the questions. You don't have to know all the questions, but that's the scary part as a leader, is if you're not asking the right question, how many times, how many stories, how many headlines are made up of situations that could have been solved by asking a few more questions.
Yeah. Wrap up with where people can access not only HRO Partners, but National Enrollment Partners, and then also to access, you mentioned you did a deep dive on the trends and such. And so where can they find access to that? How do we get in touch with Austin Baker and all the good you do?
Well, thank you. I've got a great team that supports me in that, and we're actually going to be redoing our website coming up, changing some of the architecture out, but most things can be found there by all means, HRO-partners.com. But beyond that, I'm on LinkedIn. If you want to drop me a note and say, hey, I'd love to, get the look back, look ahead webinar. So put that in the keywords. We look back at 2020, we look ahead at 2021. We did another webinar recently around mitigating risk and cost. We have multiple ebooks, HR Outsourcing 101. We have one that's geared to all of our outstanding partners, our benefits brokers, that help them navigate some new normals that are important. And we've got a lot of virtual resources available that you really don't need to take the time to recreate, and you don't need to pay someone, too much money to have it. You can get it, easily through us. So, if there's a question or something else, drop me a note on LinkedIn or hit our website. There's a demo request, a quote request button right there that with a few pieces of information can schedule you with me to get time directly on my calendar with a link. And so we have, a great team, and they all will help respond to those requests as well. And, I'm surrounded by people that are all smarter than me, and I'm blessed to be that way. And so I know how much that means to you as a team, having a team as well, Jeremy. So we're proud to be a part of the cityCURRENT team, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Austin, thank you for all you and your team do. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yes, sir, Jeremy. Thank you.